Oh, there are some states that are just stuck on stupid, and I'm not going to just pick on North Carolina. Oh, by the way, this is my Super Bowl presentation of Ask a Special Education Attorney, and we're going, or at least me and one of my sons are going for the Chiefs because we're Mahomes fans. You know, Texas Tech, Kansas City. Now, my wife has poisoned the rest of my children. She's been a lifelong Niners fan, so we'll have to get along. But I can't. I hate the Niners just because I have always grown up and remain a Dallas Cowboy fan. So, all right. I don't need any hate responses for either one, though. Okay. Okay. North Carolina, new state IEP database forms. No one is trained on it, which is not uncommon. The biggest one is initial referral. A school is stating that only items seen within the school walls can go on the form. Strengths, weakness is concerned. If the child hasn't had academic or behavioral concerns at school, then the schools are saying that they have no data to move forward with the evaluations. How do you overcome this? I don't know. I really don't. Hold on.
An idiot is attempting to reach you on your cellular device. An idiot is attempting to reach you on your cellular device.
Yes. Okay. It's a state superintendent in North Carolina. Yes. Okay. Sure. I mean, you don't have to apologize to me. Well, I appreciate it. Okay. All right, I'll let him know. Okay. Yeah. I mean, idiot. And really doesn't understand, the whole, now that was a joke that really, look, this is just a classic. I don't need, anybody. Okay. We can't have fun with this, and why are we doing it? All right. Guys, the thing about special education is that it's a service, it's not a location. And it would be ridiculous if a parent has 50% decision making and has parental rights separate from their child under this law to full parental participation. And if we're there and the entire mindset of IDEA, of special education, is the mission statement of continuing education, independent living, and economic viability, then I'm sorry, just on the level of logic alone, and there's nothing in the law that sits there and says, well, you only look at the child in the four walls of the school, because otherwise, how can we help them? That's BS. That's just absolutely crap. Now, am I familiar with schools doing that? Of course, I see schools do that all the time. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean that the policy is correct. It doesn't mean their training is right. It just means that they've gotten bad information, and they're perpetuating that bad information by, and then also trampling on children's right or damaging children who otherwise would qualify for IEPs. Because we have people that are sitting there going, well, I don't see that in school. How easy would it be to just disqualify all kids if it was left up to the arbitrary standard of whether or not a school, all the school people saw everything that went on during the school day? Our children do not exist in a vacuum. The school location is only one snippet of a child's experience, from the home, from the church, from community activities, from being in the community. All of those things encompass a child. And so therefore all of them are relevant. All of them. Especially when it comes to children's inability to generalize what's being taught, let's say socially and emotionally, let's say communicatively, let's say even academically. The child cannot expand what they're being taught outside of their, then why are they going to school? It's all for naught. But it's ridiculous just on using reason and logic and what the mission statement of the IDEA is and what the purpose of what we're trying to accomplish, to sit around and go, well, we're only looking at what's going on inside the school. Well, no, and no.
An idiot is attempting to reach reach you on your cellular device. An idiot is attempting to reach you on your cellular device.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, I will refrain from using the voice. Okay. Got it. Thanks. All right. I guess I shouldn't go into my, okay. So what do you do? Well, I mean, in these situations, I mean, when you're in meetings like this and you're dealing with what I call confident ignorance, then, there's not much you can do because they control the documentation other than challenge them. You can ask for clarification from the state. You can file an OCR complaint. You can ask for facilitated IEP meeting, mediation, due process. All of these things are mechanisms that can be triggered if through your explanations of trying to explain that we look at the child in globally. We don't just sit there and piecemeal and go, well, is it impacting the child? Now, I will tell you that when it comes to eligibility, there is some validity to some of the categories because they're heavily reliant upon parent or parent and teacher rating skills, adaptive behavior rating skills, and on those fronts, those are arbitrary standards, and it is a snapshot. And the only place that the teacher is seeing your child is inside the school setting. And in that, yes, am I happy about it? No. But at the same time, it's an imperfect system, but it's the one that we have. And for, let's say, ADHD and also autism, those are the categories where, some of the ways into eligibility under those categories involve those rating scales. And if those rating scales aren't filled out in an accurate manner, then yes, it can keep a child from being eligible. But as far as blocking off the gate to where referral's not even considered because, or eligibility isn't even considered to where the school's going, well, we don't see anything here, therefore we're not going to move forward because we have no suspicions. I don't believe that. That's also not best practice. It's also not smart to do. And I also don't believe it. There are instances, though, to where the parents are medicating, and what the parents see at home or in other aspects of the community, because the child happens to be fully medicated at school, then the school realistically is not seeing who the child really is in their natural state, and their natural state is not on medication. So, to be fair to the school, there can be instances. Now, is that an excuse not to move forward, not to look at the child globally, not to look at special education as a service instead of a location? Because we serve kids everywhere in every possible facet, and including prison if they're under 21 and went in with an IEP. So it's ridiculous to sit there and narrow this down and say, I'm only looking at this. Okay. But the difficult question or the difficult thing that is difficult to answer is how do you overcome this? Because like I said, I mean, when you got people that control documentation with a false sense of awesome and with some confident ignorance, then it's hard to overcome something like that without somebody like me, or without having to move forward, because sometimes logic and reasoning through this just doesn't cut it with some of these people.